Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Blueprint Podcast. Real people, real stories. Chasing dreams, overcoming obstacles. Come get inspired and take action. I know you're ready. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurial Blueprint. Today we have Marci Mayfield. Marci, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Lester, it's good to see you.
Good to see you as well as Marci. Feeling good.
Good. So I guess to introduce this video, Marci, you're pretty much an OG at CR3. You've been here forever.
Yep.
Since the very beginning.
6 years. Coming up on 6 years. So pretty much since the beginning.
Right. So I guess give us a little bit of background of what you've done in the company, because I think your role's changed a little bit, but what you started out doing here is completely different from what you're doing now. So explain a little bit what you're up to.
Yeah. So when I first started with the company, I actually came in, I was doing in-house insurance supplementing. So it's very different than what I'm doing now. So I started, I did this 2-week program. And after 2 weeks, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to start writing these supplements. I can't watch this anymore. The first year, I think I did 1.2 million in supplements. So it was super successful. I love doing it. At that time, I feel like is when we were trying to start to transition less insurance, more retail. So we were trying to really get away from, all the insurance work. And, we didn't have as many storms up here as we worked, when the company first started. So we started outsourcing that. And then I kind of moved into a training position. I feel like when we first started, there was so few of us that you just cross-trained a lot of different things. So I knew the systems, I knew a lot of what was going on. So I moved into a training position where I was hiring the sales reps, training them, working that way. Mixed in there, I was still doing permitting and warranties and, just whatever kind of needed done. So I did that for a while. And then whenever we decided we were going to franchise things, I moved over to the franchise side. And again, at first it was kind of cold calling and it was still way different than what I'm doing now. But now that we're kind of, rocking and rolling and things are flowing, I get to work with the franchisees one-on-one, very in-depth with them, kind of through the process of getting set up. So yeah, it has evolved a lot, but I've loved every part of it.
So we talk a lot about adaptation on this show, that people who find success in their careers learn to adapt. Now, obviously, I don't think you probably pictured yourself ever getting into franchising. And franchising, it's a lot of people don't even know what franchising is. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and probably assume that it took some learning curves to figure out what franchising even was, and then having to adapt from that to figuring out how you got to be successful in this new role. I mean, the cool thing is, since you've been here from the beginning, and you've been through all of the growing pains, and everybody trusts you and look up to you in this company, that Carney and Mark trusted you to take over this position, right? And so that's got to have some pressure on you to be successful in this new role. So how did you adapt and adjusting to that learning curve?
Yeah, it's both pressure, and I trust them so much that them trusting me in this role, I was like, okay, if they think I can do it, I can do this. You know what I mean? So, like I said, they've kind of seen me evolve so much, and they have entrusted me with so much in the business that I was like, okay, if they think I can do this, I'm going to figure it out. Right. But yeah, you have to adapt and you have to learn, and you're just consistently learning. I think that's a big thing. When I was doing supplementing, I was joining Facebook groups and reading books and, just trying to figure out everything. I wanted to know everything. And okay, how are they dealing with this? And, how can we implement this? So I think just always being a student of, your position and, what you are working towards is such a big thing. And I see that in Carney and Mark as well. You know, they've been great mentors and role models, if you will. You know, none of us have franchising experience, so they're doing the same exact thing and they lead that way. And it's just easy to be like, okay, like this is what we're doing, you know, and we all figure it out together. And, you know, we've made mistakes together and we're still, you know, really learning it all. But yeah, you have to adapt. You have to, this isn't working. Okay, like forget about it. Let's move forward. And again, I think it's something that's made us successful and something that, especially, I know, you know, Mark, he doesn't ponder on things. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, boom, move. And that's what we do. And we don't dwell on it. And I think it keeps us moving in the right direction and successful.
Yeah, I think for you, you do the research, you do your homework, and you're a problem solver, right? I know we consider you as kind of the glue to keep us all whole here. But I mean, you bring up a good point. Like, yeah, what do you guys know about franchising, right? So when a new franchisee is coming in, and you know, we started off in 2017, but we didn't really start the franchising concept till, you know, getting our foot in the water probably 2022, and then really going to market in 2023. So what do you guys know, right? I think what gets either missed or which is misunderstood, there's a whole nother piece to this in loyalty brands, where that experience that they have really helps us problem solve quickly, ask the right questions, move on. Can you talk a little bit about how loyalty brands really cultivates your lack of experience in the franchise world, but then just really helps you cut the line?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, they have been such a help. They know franchising. John Hewitt, Bob Gappa, who I consider my mentor, and you know Lester and Carney as well. We've spent a lot of hours with him online and what we now have deemed the war room, you know, just locked in there, like no one's leaving, like we're figuring this out. It's been so instrumental, and I'm so fortunate to have that. And they have just willingly, you know, been there for us each step of the way. I know John is mentoring Carney. And again, Bob has spent countless hours with us and is really putting us on another level. So we wouldn't have been able to do it without them as quickly. You know, I always think that we would be able to figure things out, but for sure they have helped us be able to do it in the time frame that we've done it.
Yeah, so let's move over a little bit. And I guess to start, I love God. I'm a religious guy. But one thing I never understood is why God didn't give us more hours in the day, because I just feel like there's never enough hours in the day. Marci, I think that's probably true more for any, you know, no more true for you than anybody else. I mean, you have two sons, wrestle, baseball. You also are a coach. You're at a high position at CR3. You also have a wrestling academy. Where do you find the time to accomplish everything you need to accomplish?
I live and die by my calendar and my Trello board. So, yeah, it's time management, you know. I like to consider that I get, you know, a day's work. I can get a day's work done in less amount of hours than normal people. You know, I think there's a lot of wasted time in days. And I think that my work day is productive, right? I can just knock out a work day, and yeah, I don't think it has to take me 8 hours, or what I can accomplish in 8 hours is way more than 8 hours of work. So yeah, because when when it's closing day at CR3, which, you know, not always is, you know, I mean, we're still getting phone calls and Slack messages and emails, and, you know, that's great. But yeah, I'm watching my oldest wrestle, or we have baseball practice, or right, like I'm a coach right now. Like, so this is my crazy season. I go right from work to wrestling practice, and then we have our wrestling gym and dinner, and we're homeschooling. So yeah, I think you have to manage your time, which is not always easy. And there's seasons where you feel like you're treading water, you know, but you make it through. And and you're better for it. So yeah, you just
Yeah.
your time and, making good use of it is
Yeah.
super important.
And I think that's interesting because I feel like there is a notion of like this 8 hour workday. You got to be sitting at your desk for 8 hours. Yeah, sometimes I feel like even in the afternoon, if I get up and go to the gym or something, and then have dinner, I can come back and sit down in the evening and get more work done and accomplish more because I feel reinvigorated. I feel like I was able to move around, get some stress off, kind of get my mind to work a little bit more active again. So I think that's cool that you're finding ways not just to make work your life. You're getting involved in wrestling. You made that a hobby of yours because of your sons and baseball and all this. But also, it seems like that's probably helping you in your career as well to understand that your life's not just about work, and you know that you have other stuff you can look forward to after work.
Yeah, for sure. And not that it's always been easy. We've had days where we're like, like, I'm gonna just log off for an hour, but I genuinely love what I do. I love it here. And I see the long term, I see the big picture, and I think that helps when you're kind of in that grind mode. Like, hey, like, eye on the prize, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a big, like, I write quotes up, pressure is a privilege, things like that, that really just like, okay, like, I'm doing this for a reason. Like, we're changing lives. Like, we are, and we're just starting. So yeah, I think you have to have a passion for what you do. And thankfully, like, I have many outlets of that, this CR3, my family, our business, and I'm thankful in that way that I truly love what I'm doing, and it makes it easy to log those hours in, even sometimes when you're overwhelmed.
I think one word that translates through everything that you stand for is discipline. And I think there's so many people that lack that discipline, but you have it through and through, whether it's with your kids, your family, owning a gym, CR3, the franchisees that you dedicate yourself to. Talk about discipline and what that means to you.
Yeah, and it's sometimes funny to say because I never wrestled myself, but I've grown up with it, and obviously it's such a big part of our lives. And I mean, when we're talking kids from 6 years old to college, right? And it boils down to that discipline. It's not always what you want to do, but you wake up and you do it. And um, we always say motivation, and it's like, that's not getting the job done. Like, being motivated is not going to long term get you where you want to go, because you're going to get through really hard times and that motivation is going to wear. But the discipline of, all right, I'm waking up, I'm logging on, I am getting this to-do list done, even though, like, at the moment it sucks. We always also say, like, you embrace the suck, is a big thing that we always say. And you gotta love it. You gotta love the suck too. You gotta love the hard part of it. And I don't know if you just have it or you don't. But I think, yeah, if you're disciplined to keep showing up day after day after day through the wins and the losses and, the hurts and the frustration and the, are we gonna make it? Yeah, you get so far. You put so many of those steps together, through discipline, and you're like, wow, like, okay, like, I'm 100 steps. Wow. Where motivation, like, you're done at 15, because the results, they don't come. There's no quick fix. There's no quick fix in a lot of things in life that we wish there were. And the only way you're going to do it is discipline.
And I think to your point, loving the hard times, the hardships, that is extremely important, and you're exactly right with that. But you have to know where you're going. You have to have a plan and know exactly where you want to end up. Because if you don't know, if you're kind of just spinning your wheels and also you're going through a hardship, well, then there's no hope. But if you know exactly what you want to accomplish, and this is for anything, whether it's wrestling or going to the gym or in your work, like, it could be anything. Like, understanding that you have a goal in mind, you know exactly where you want to get to, then yeah, like I'm going through a hardship, I'm learning something, but we're going to get through this and we're going to keep moving forward. And then eventually this is going to pay off.
Yeah. And I mean, as you guys know, Matt, you know, like I'm a competitor, you know, like I don't like to lose.
Yeah.
So, you know, that helps too. It's just like, I don't care. I don't care if like I've got to set, like I am not losing, you know, like we are not losing. So let's go. You know what I mean? Let's get back up. Let's get back to it and we're going to win it. So it's just kind of, I don't know, maybe maybe that's not always the best, but yeah, I don't want to lose. And, you know, being
I guess
willing.
that's what you get for marrying a Marine and having two boys, is it? Two boys who are
Yep.
competitors. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm sure that rubs off for you a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all sore losers in the house. So
That's okay. That's okay. So what are some things you're learning from
Hold each
working with
other- hold each other
franchises?
accountable.
What are some things you're learning with working with franchises from around the country, dealing with people who are running a small business and you know, have their own goals themselves that you know, you've been around working at CR3, you've been around with you know, you're obviously you guys also have your own wrestling academy. What are some things you're seeing that maybe overlap and some things you've also learned that you've applied to your own life?
yeah, I mean, working with obviously a bunch of different franchisees, everyone is different. You know, everyone has like a separate background, a separate how they've gotten to where they are right now. It's all so different, but you know, the path stays the same. And I think that's something that we talk about too, even in the wrestling, how you know, I'm trying to like, now I'm losing my train of thought here. Where you're going is all the same, but sometimes you do have to kind of change that, not change where you're going, but how you get there. Right. That's had its challenges. You know, you have a bunch of different personalities, which sometimes, you know, it's a challenge sometimes in maintaining that because you're working so closely. This is such a big deal to them as well. This is their livelihood. This is their business. So I think just learning how to navigate all those different big personalities and challenges, because everyone's challenges are different. Everyone's goals are different. You know, none of them have the same exact goal. So figuring out how we take all of that, but, you know, keep it on this same pipeline has been challenging, but I think we're getting there and we're learning. So I've enjoyed it. I enjoy working with all the different personalities and it challenges me. So it's helping me for sure in this position and growing and just in the future. Because yeah, sometimes we get stuck in this, you know, just like-minded people, you know, people just like us, and that's comfortable, right? And it's uncomfortable sometimes being on the other side of it, but it's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine because when my father partnered with Carney to start C3 and really take it off, we're from Baltimore, Carney's from Hanover. It's only a 40-minute drive, but the way people interact in Hanover is way different than the way people interact
sure.
in Baltimore.
Yeah.
But that also means because there's different cultures, there's different environments, and you're dealing with franchises, and it's going to continue to grow, God willing, and it, you know, it will. But you're dealing with people from Arizona, from Texas, from Virginia. People interact differently, and you have to learn. Again, that word adjust comes up again. Just because, you know, you figure out a way to work with someone and how they, you know, interact with people in Texas doesn't mean that's necessarily going to be how business interactions happen in Arizona or Virginia or Florida per se.
Right. And then, yeah, it's the expectation, right? The expectation is the same for everybody, but you have to change the strategy of how you're getting them there depending on where they're coming from, you know, where they're at right now. It is not like a cookie cutter experience.
And
and I
unless you're, I'm
think
sure.
we thought, you know, it would be in
Yeah.
some ways, and it's not, but that expectation is still the same for everybody. You know, everyone has to follow this. Everyone, you know, these things need to happen, but you have to find a way to get everybody there in their own way.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure Lester, you could talk on this even more for yourself. I mean, you're trying to bring on new franchises. So I guess in your experience as well, what do you see with that and interacting with different people from around the country?
Yeah, well, I mean, my background where I come from, I'm used to this, right? I've been doing this for years. So it's just moving at different paces, right? Like I've learned, I've done thousands of demos for softwares for contractors, and I spoke to people all over the country. And what I've learned is I have to sometimes move at their pace, speak at their pace to relate to them, because I'm from the Northeast. We can get real fast, real quick.
Yeah.
We're too fast for our own good. And I realized that a long time ago. But if I'm talking to someone down in Alabama, I just have to learn how to move at their pace. It doesn't mean that they don't think at our pace. They just respond at their pace. So we just have to, it takes some time, but I can imagine that's, challenging sometimes for someone like Marci in the position she's in, because it's just a lot of different paces, and you got to realize and understand when you need to, take it back a step or move it up a step or just pull a different lever. But I think all in all, I think we're onto something good. We're putting the right people in place around the country as far as our strategic partners. And I think they're also learning our pace, because again, everyone, when they get in the business, they want to run 1,000 miles per hour. Even though we have the blueprint, the systems and the processes, there's still a pace. And then there's still levers, right? Because some people are starting off at zero. Some are starting off at 250,000 in revenue, and some are at 2 million, 5 million. So we just have to be aware of where they're at, how we're going to get them there. And then the other piece of that with our franchisees is certain people are already at certain steps of the process. So everyone wants to be to the front immediately, but we just got to make sure we keep them in their lane to assure that they get there in due time. And as long as we do our part there, we're all going to be good together. People don't like to hear that. There's a lot of pushback because they think, you know what, you're just not giving us enough time or attention, or that's just not the case. We just know that we need to work with you when we need to work with you with certain things. So, but yeah, no, it's fun and exciting when you're dealing with a bunch of different personalities from all over the country. That's the part that I love the most. And hopefully they like me in return, but I think they do.
Yeah, same.
Mm-hmm.
Also, yes.
They're not always going to like me, but I hope they love me.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Marci, we appreciate you coming on this podcast.
Yeah, thank you guys.
I like to always invite you back on within the next few months to just keep up with the progress and see how things are going. And maybe we can get you on after wrestling season to see how your season went, and then get a preview into baseball season.
Oh, yep, I know. It's already starting. Winter workouts, you know how it goes.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks.